नमो विष्णुपादाय नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you to our daily Bhagavad Gita reading session, and thank you all very much for your enthusiastic participation. Now we are discussing chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 1 consists of 5 sections, starting with the Dhritarashtra's inquiry, verse number 1, and then Duryodhan observing the armies from 1.2 to 1.11, and thereafter the signs of victory that is described from 1.12 to 1.19, and thereafter Arjuna observing the army, that is 1.20 to 1.27, and now we are in fifth section where Arjuna is going to describing his reasonable arguments why he is not desiring to fight. The first arguments we have discussed, that is compassion, 1.28 to 1.30, and today we will be discussing from 1.31 to 1.35. Let us see how much portion of it we can cover. This is the second argument. Second argument is there is no enjoyment in fighting. Why should I fight? Let us see how Arjuna is putting forward his arguments. Before that, let's quickly recap the verse number 30. Yesterday we could not give so much time. 30 was Nacha avasthatum shaknomi. I cannot stay fixed. Brahmativa chame manaha, because my mind is reeling. Viparitani nimitani cha pashyami. I see only reverses. I see only the opposite results. Kesava or Krishna. I see only the opposite results. Why should I fight? So what are those opposite results? Now he will describe afterwards. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining in his verses that because Arjuna means excessive attachment for material things puts a man in such a bewildering condition of existence. Bhayam dvitiya abhinivesatah sat. If someone develops attachment to the external material things, then fear is certain. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium takes place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Bhayam ditya abhinivesatah sat. Ditya abhinivesatah means absorbed. In ditya means which is not other than the Lord, external to the Lord, material things. If somebody is absorbed in material enjoyments, then bhayam syat, then fear will exist. He will undergo different fears. ये भूख एंड भय, ये जो दो है, ये फंडामेंटल है. आदमी को भूख है और भय. अब देखो जो भी बेसिक नीड्स है, इस दो, these two things are very primary needs of a human. Just to satisfy his hunger and belly, he is engaging himself in various works, accumulating wealth, and then just to protect him, he also go out to work and earn money to build a good house, to build good relate means to build good relationship so that they can give protection, not only protection from external enemies, but also protection from possible diseases, possible ill health. So, bhook and bhai, these two things are very fundamental to every living entity. So, this fear will go away when someone is surrendered to Krishna. This is the statement of Bhagavata. I am not saying it. To some extent, when you progress in your devotional career, it is also experienceable. To that degree you progress in your devotional life, to the degree you progress in your devotional life, to that degree you can experience it better. Because a devotee leaves everything on the hand of Krishna. Why should he worry? Why should be there fear? Because he has confidence on Krishna that Krishna will definitely protect me. Rakshasi iti vishwaso. He has tremendous confidence on Krishna. So here Arjuna is in fearful state, in such bewildering state, not out of his fear of fighting the battle. No, this is because of his excessive attachment towards his relatives. So this is very important to understand. When a man sees only frustration in his expectation, he thinks, why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self-interest by Krishna's will. Once real self-interest lies in Vishnu or Krishna, the conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him. Here, this is very important. Not at any time think that Arjuna is an ordinary person like us. No, he is always in remembrance of Krishna. For him, it is not possible to be in this state. But because of Krishna's will, because Krishna is wanting to give this message to us, so that's the reason he has chosen his dearmost devotee and he puts him in the bewildering state so that Arjuna is behaving like an ordinary soul. He puts Arjuna in a forgetful state just to give us this teaching. So, when your self-interest is misdirected, the ordinary soul the conditioned soul will look for this in external things. Whereas, actually, the real self-interest lies in Vishnu. Serving the Vishnu or Krishna, okay, worshipping him, and living the life according to his instruction, then there is no suffering of material pains. Even though material pains will be there, but sufferings are minimized. Whereas, if he will put his self-interest onto the external things, although there are comforts, but he will suffer material pain. This is the crux. So here we saw various such symptoms observed in Arjuna's body. His limbs are quivering, mouths are drying out, whole body is trembling, Hair is standing on the end. Gandiva is slipping from the hands. The skins are burning because heart is burning. So that's the reason skins are burning. Unable to stand because of impatience. He is even forgetting himself and his mind is reeling. He is completely in a state of bewilderment due to the weakness of his heart. He only sees causes of misfortune. Nimitani viparitani pasyami. Okay, let us go to next verse 1.31. As usual, let us recite this verse. I will first recite, make you familiar, then you can recite along with me. Nacho shreyanu hatva swajanam ahave na kangshe vijayam krishna na cha rajyam sukhani cha. Please join. Na cha shreyonupashyami
न च श्रेयो अनुपश्यामि
hatva swajanam ahave
हत्या स्वजन आहवे
na kangshe vijayam krishna
न
न
कांक्षेयं कृष्ण
na cha rajyam sukhani cha.
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
Na cha shreyonupashyami
न च श्रेयो अनुपश्यामि
पश्यामि
hatva swajanam ahave
हत्वा
स्वजनम्
स्वजनमाहवे
na kangshe vijayam krishna
न कांक्षे कृष्ण
na cha rajyam sukhani cha.
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
Wonderful. One more last time. Na cha shreyonupashyami
न च श्रेयो अनुपश्यामि
hatva swajanam ahave
हत्या स्वजन आहवे
na kangshe vijayam krishna
न कांक्षे विजयं कृष्ण
na cha rajyam sukhani cha.
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
Wonderful. Wonderful. Na cha shreyonupashyami. Na cha shreya. Shreya means better. Na cha shreya anupashyami. I do not see any good or better. Hatva swajanam ahave. From which things I do not see any better or good. Hatva swajanam ahave. Hatva by killing. Swajanam, my own kinsman. So here he also is addressing the enemies as Swajanam. After all, they are my relatives. So what? They are my enemies, but after all, they are my relatives, my family members. Na kangshe, I do not desire. Vijayam, I do not desire victory. Krishna, O Krishna, nacha rajyam sukhani cha. Why I need kingdom? Because of enjoying rajya sukha. I do not even need that. Synonyms. Na, nar, cha, also, shreyaha, good, anupashyami, do I foresee, hatva, by killing, swajanam, own kinsman, ahave, in the fight. Na, nar, kangshe, do I desire, Vijayam, victory. Krishna, O Krishna, na, nar, cha, also, Rajyam, kingdom, Sukhani, happiness thereof, cha, also. Translation. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Nachasreha anupashyami, I do not see any good results. Hatva swajanam ahave, after killing my own people in war. Na kangshe vijayam, I do not desire victory. Nacha rajyam sukhani cha, kingdom or happiness. O Krishna. So this is Arjuna's point of view. Let us see what is written in purport. Without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationship, hoping to be happy in such situations. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya, who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture, are able to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. What Srila Prabhupada is telling here, that if someone fights a battle and he is killed in the battle, but still he will get heavenly planets. Okay, because this is the rule. If a Kshatriya will die in the battle, he will be promoted to heavenly planets, because he is fighting for the good cause. He is fighting for a higher reason. He is doing his duty properly, what is expected out of him. And similarly, a renounced order of life, a sannyasi, who is perfectly doing his spiritual practices, for him getting heavenly planets is also not difficult. So here, renounced order of life means here Krishna is addressing the yogis, the Ashtanga yogis, or of this, or of the same type of sannyasis, not the bhaktas. But here, Arjuna is well aware of all these things because he is a learned scholar. But when someone's attraction is to his bodily relationships, then in that situation, he will even forget all these siddhantas, all these philosophies. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. Because if someone will promote to the heaven, he will enjoy there. So that's a material happiness. So Arjuna is forgetting that. And even not only that, Arjuna is forgetting his moral code. As a Kshatriya, he should fight. Fighting for the right cause is his duty. Here he is fighting against the enemies who are not virtuous, who try to usurp the kingdom and given multiple causes of trouble. They put them, the Kauravas put Pandavas in various such problems. And if such rulers will rule the kingdom, then what will happen to the common people? This will seriously degrade the whole society because there will not be any spiritual culture established. So people will be just engrossed in eating, mating, sleeping, defending, like the Kauravas are doing. So certainly this is not the will of the Lord. Without knowing one's self-interest is in Vishnu, whereas we should always think of what is the real interest of Krishna. What does he desire? What does he says in the Shastras? Instead of knowing that, here in this particular condition, Arjuna is analyzing his own self-interest. His own self-interest, he is seeing that, oh, these are my relatives, my bodily relationships. How I can bring harm to them? So, we'll see in the latter portion, let us see. So he is thinking that even though I win a kingdom, what is the use of that? Because generally we accumulate wealth or accumulate success or any other thing just to show our friends and relatives. By showing that, we get lot of credit, lot of satisfaction, and that eventually makes us happy. By getting that comfort or getting that facilities, that will certainly give happiness, but more than that, by showing others, that gives us more happiness. This is a typical material calculation, and it's not very difficult to understand. We all have ample evidences and experiences of that kind. So Arjuna here is thinking, even though I fight, I will have this kingdom. Whom I will show? With whom I will share this victory? There is nobody absolutely. All of them will be dead. Then what is the point of fighting such battle? There is no any enjoyment. After all, why am I fighting? I am fighting to get the kingdom. This is Arjuna's perspective. Actually, that's not the truth. Why Arjuna is fighting? Because Krishna is willing him to fight. But he is not thinking at this moment like that. Why Krishna's will is to fight? Because Krishna wants to eliminate the unrighteous Kauravas. Because he wants to establish dharma. He wants to establish righteousness. He wants that dharmic people to rule the kingdom. Then, why Krishna wants that? Because if that happens, the people will have greater opportunity to practice spiritual culture. You see, in a country, if a dharmic ruler will rule, then he will not be corrupted. He will make right justice. Then country will prosper. There will be no any problem for the countrymen to fulfill their basic needs. If basic needs are fulfilled and they are prosperous, then they will be directed to the higher cause of the life. And they will cooperate with each other. Means in the society, there is no any um, there is no any other bad things like murder, there is no any exploitations. Okay, so they will not be consumed by this. Their mind will be absorbed in how they can elevate their consciousness, how they can spiritually grow. That's the reason Krishna is always wanting to establish dharma, because it will give a right environment for the people to cultivate spiritual culture. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he is not willing to fight. Just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. But is it right? If a person is not feeling hunger, oh, I am not feeling hungry, why why will I cook? No. Even though you don't feel hungry, but if you will not eat, how your body will get nourishment? Or forget about that, if you will not hungry, if you are not hungry and you are not cooking, how about others in the family? If your mother will say that, oh, I will not cook because I am not feeling hungry, then is it right thing? No. Mother never does that. So Arjuna is only seeing a very limited vision. Oh, I am not going to enjoy. Why will I fight? But there is a bigger cause associated to it. Okay, a bigger vision associated to it. He is not able to see that. He has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. You see? You see how Arjuna is detached, and he is willing to go to forest and live a secluded life in frustration. Means if Arjuna will go to forest, then his life in the forest will be only in frustration, because after all he is a Kshatriya. He cannot be happy in living forest. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. If Arjuna is not going to fight, then he has only options to go to forest. Because Kshatriya needs a kingdom to rule, and that is how they can lead their life, because they will give protection to the common people, and common people in return will give the taxes, and by that taxes the kingdom will be ruled, and they can also make their living, the kings and the rulers. That's how the system works. And if there is no, but for that you need a kingdom. A Kshatriya need a kingdom. Now Pandavas have no kingdom. If Pandavas fight and then win, then they will get the kingdom. But if they do not fight, and there is no possibilities of getting the kingdom, because before the war, as a peace messenger, Krishna went to the Kauravas for pleading 5 villages. Oh, my dear Duryodhan, let us not go for this ghastly war. Pandavas are so generous that they are settled with only 5 villages because they do not have a big expectations. Only merely 5 villages if they will get, each brother will rule one village, and out of that, whatever they get in return, they can make their living. They do not have so big ambition. But for Duryodhan, it is very simple thing. Out of thousands and millions of villages, he just have to spare 5 villages. But still, Duryodhan is so blinded, he has refused to give such, to fulfill such proposals. But now, if Arjuna will not fight, he will have no kingdom, and then only option is that he will go to forest and beg there, and he will live a life of frustrations. And it's a secluded life. We will discuss the next section tomorrow, 30 to 35. Time is up now. Anything, any question? Anything is troubling you, not able to understand? Because you see in these sections, two-dimensional view is being described by Srila Prabhupada. One thing is that compassion in itself is good. Because Arjuna is a devotee, he is soft-hearted, so that even though his relatives are his enemies, but he has soft corners to them. That's a good thing. And that is there because he is a devotee. And all the devotees of the Lord, they will sooner or later develop all the good qualities which are being there in Suras, demigods, which are seen in demigods. In the other hand, another dimension Srila Prabhupada is telling, these material attachments are so consuming that they even puts a person in such miserable condition. So this is how he is explaining this situation. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.